Welcome to our State of the School meeting. I'm glad you're joining us. Welcome to our administration, and thank you for leading us through a global crisis this year. Welcome to our faculty members, and thank you for your love and commitment during a period that has been characterized by unprecedented change. Welcome to our trustees. Thank you for your commitment and your hard work in what has been a most challenging year. And welcome and thank you to our alumni families for your continued support and care. We are so grateful. And welcome to our current parents. Thank you for your trust and thank you for your presence in our community. Now, without further ado, let's begin this check-in where we look at where we've been, where we are now, and where we're going together.
Hello, friends. A year ago in this meeting together, we laid out plans. We spent all year creating those plans, and we shared this vision for stepping forward into the new together as a community. We've come through some trauma together. For some of you, I know that it is compounded over several years. And for others of us, it's inherited piece by piece in conversations that we have with our colleagues, our friends, our fellow parents. A year ago at this meeting, we had weathered an existential crisis together. We were turning our attention outward into the world again after some soul searching. After a long, hard time of not having the luxury to do that. This year has a different energy. One of the things that I remember most vividly in learning about the 2019 crisis here at the Lake Champlain Waldorf School and the conflicts over the decision of whether our school in its entirety would continue on. One of the things that struck me as a newcomer in learning about that excruciating spring and summer was that everyone had a metaphor. We're on a boat, we're on a mountain, we're in a battle, we're in a vision quest. The school is a patient, the school is a ship, the school is an airplane. There was a lot of thinking of other ways that we could picture our institution. It's a type of inquiry that sometimes, in order to see something as it truly is, we need to cast farther afield for different lenses, different filters to apply. They help us gain insight, and they help us share things that are true for us in a way that has not yet emerged into articulation. I don't hear many metaphors these days. I think we've exhausted them all. We've brought in so many different layers of truth, so many different perspectives on the nature of this institution and of the work ahead for us. And now I feel like in this moment, we're just a school. We're a school, moreover, whose defining challenge is exactly the same as that shared by nearly every other school on the planet, the challenge of how to be and stay safe in the midst of a global pandemic. I'm here to speak about the wins and losses of the past year. I won't begin to name, and I'm sure I couldn't name in entirety, every lost hope and expectation, every forfeited tradition, every missed moment of casual but vital human connection that our students have sustained over the past year. Someday, when we emerge into the world that is waiting for us, for all of humanity, on the other side of this shared crisis, that day, I hope we will come together and name them. I hope that there will be a time to hold space for every special moment, every anticipated joy and satisfaction that our students didn't have because of the coronavirus and what it's meant to all of us. But I'll set those aside for now and speak specifically to things that were within our control, within our grasp, and slipped away. What we are doing and what we can do to reduce those things in number and in impact. Similarly, when I think of the wins of this year, the very first thing that comes to mind is that there have been 0 cases of school-based transmission. Not only that, but there have been 0 documented or suspected cases of a COVID-19 positive individual being present here on campus. Not only that, but we are learning together 5 days a week, and we're doing it safely, and we're doing it well. And when that tally is taken of all that this generation has lost to the pandemic, our children's lists will be mercifully short by any comparison. And that is a daily blessing and a daily win. And I know so many of us wake up thankful and go to bed celebrating that this is where and how we are in this time. I'll set that aside too. And I'll share with you a few thoughts on what remains and what it means to us and how we are charting our course day by day, growing stronger and better, more grounded, more collaborative, more inclusive, more meaningful, more dynamic, and becoming an ever better place to learn and to work. These wins include the restoration of teacher pay and the commitment to reach pay parity with our competition schools over the next 3 years. Last year, we talked about this as a 4-year goal, and it's been quite a year, but here we are. It's a 3-year goal from here. We are making teacher compensation a budget priority in a very meaningful way. We could have pushed that goal and they would all have understood, but instead we're leaning into it because there will always be a reason to wait. There will always be some reason why this isn't the time. And we're ending that narrative for us here. Another profound win is the founding of a new college of teachers to guide and support and deepen the pedagogical administration of the school. Waldorf schools are intended to be republics of teachers, and the College of Teachers is our Senate. And our school is better and richer and safer and stronger with an active and dynamic College of Teachers to carry the weight of significant pedagogical decisions and to lead the faculty study into the developing human beings in our care to guide and inform those decisions. A win for this year is the joy that our teachers and students have found in learning outdoors. It ebbs and flows a little bit depending on the person and the day, but I have heard so many share how natural it's felt to be outside, how grounded, how connected, how comforting it feels to have your place in the natural world affirmed in so many ways every day. It's been a tonic to the stresses and anxieties we're all facing. And our outdoor classrooms have made that possible. We are so grateful to everyone who showed up over the summer, showed up with work gloves and drills and packed lunches and extra water bottles and built all those desks and hammered all those planks and created these special learning spaces for our students to step into. The incredible generosity of a mystery friend whose donation built this amphitheater where we're able to hold outdoor assemblies and plays in addition to classes. What an incredibly timely project. Who could have imagined? And to the donor whose gift made the outdoor classrooms possible. And like I said, to everyone who has shown up for the school again and again. What a blessing all of you are. Another win of the past year has been in the area of diversity, equity, and inclusion. That feels almost strange to say because our focus, as it should be, is primarily on the long road ahead. But let's look back for a moment on where we've traveled. After the board established this work as one of our 8 strategic benchmarks in the summer of 2019, and after we completed our whole school equity audit in the fall of 2019, we began to make some really substantive changes throughout our organization. We implemented a K-12 anti-bias curriculum, which supports our students in the 4 goals of anti-bias teaching, developing a strong and positive and healthy identity that includes lots of room for other people's identity as well, expressing comfort with, joy in, and accurate language for the full range of human diversity, recognizing unfairness, past and present, and understanding that unfairness hurts all of us, and having the courage and the tools to take age-appropriate action against unfairness that our students see in the world. We made a recruiting change of considering any hiring cycle to be incomplete if we've only interviewed candidates of one race for the position. And as a result, we have had to look very differently at how we publicize, how we put out different position openings in order to ensure that we are connecting with qualified candidates who are Black, Indigenous, people of color. The board established diversity and inclusion scholarships last winter based on 7 different types of diversity that were articulated by our community. And last summer, when our whole nation turned its focus to systemic racism, a DEI group formed here to lead the conversation in the parent community and in the faculty community about dismantling systems of oppression and build that shared framework. Another win is being together here on one campus. I've been thinking about this a lot recently as the college has been considering what comes next and as I've been hearing from parents and students. Being together here at Turtle Lane has sustained FTE and reduced overall programmatic losses for our high school students. Although we know that in itself, it has represented a loss to many of them. And there are ways we'd hoped to live into it and haven't been able to fully. But being here together has allowed us to be and feel whole in some really profound ways, and for us to support one another more actively than we could have otherwise. I have to talk about curriculum creativity and the incredible ways our teachers have adapted the carefully developed, targeted activities so quickly, so fully, so sincerely. It's really exciting. It would have been easy. Heck, it would have been understandable for the teachers to throw up their hands in the face of some of the necessary but oh so inconvenient safety protocols that we've established and to give up on important pieces of the pedagogy. The most inspiring moments of the past year for me have been when I've had the opportunity to hear teachers returning again and again to the fundamentals of why we bring something at a certain time and in a certain way. And there's been such rich conversation around those fundamentals as we create new plans to meet them safely in this different environment. Something really special has happened here. And I'm sure that people have seen it, from Mr. Olson's pivot to a handbell chorus instead of a vocal chorus, Mr. McDonald's tireless sanitizing of pool noodles in between classes, and a different type of flexibility in bringing online resources and tools to support our students. It's really exciting to see. And I think it bodes very well for us going forward as we are continually looking to adapt to the needs of our students in this time. I'm hesitant to say this because I don't want to jinx it, but enrollment is a win for us too. Although we have had a high attrition rate in recent years, and although around 30% of our families decided last spring that they just couldn't weather this pandemic year with us, the number of new inquiries and applications is on a scale we've simply never seen before. What we're doing here on a daily basis is truly amazing, and it's also quite rare. And people from across the country are looking to come here to be part of it. Not only students, but also teachers from a wide range of areas have been reaching out to us since last May or so. There's a palpable feeling of life and energy flowing toward and into our school. We're likely to have wait lists in 5 or 6 classes next year, and that hasn't happened here in a while. And we're grateful to everyone who's spread the word and helped tell the story of the Lake Champlain Waldorf School and of what we're doing to serve our students. We're grateful to the trustees who've picked up work formerly held by the administrative team before last year's cuts, to our former board president for a generous gift toward marketing and getting the word out, and for the commitment of our part-time admin team for being so fully here in every sense of the word. Let's take a look at these losses. We'd hoped to generate meaningful rental revenue from the Bostwick Road campus, and we weren't able to do that. We invested time we didn't have in trying to make it happen, and then in trying to suss out the next best steps down this path that almost certainly isn't part of our long-term strategy. I'm consulting with the College of Teachers on how to move forward on that front, and I hope that we will have insight and clarity in that group. Our plans for student support haven't unfolded as we'd hoped, and have placed too great a burden on class teachers already stretched thin. Recently, I've asked for feedback from every branch and from the full faculty working together as to what is needed in order to remove the impediments to learning, whether those are academic, behavioral, or social in nature. What is it that our students most need looking forward into the future? There is something looking to emerge here in this realm of student support, and a key task this spring is to discern exactly what that is so we can set it in place for our students over the summer. Lastly, we miss you. It's really hard to have the type of active and meaningful parent community that we're all used to when we can't meet in person. I said I wasn't going to blame COVID. I am so appreciative of the PCC's video meetings and the inclusivity of having class meetings online and so on. That's real and that's important, and connection is happening there. But this is here because I can't shake the feeling that there is something more or different that we could all be doing. And it comes through here and there in conversations that the spirit of shared community that we've relied on in the past is a little anemic under all of the stresses and pressures that we find ourselves under, and has not been fully met by what we've done this year in parent engagement. I'm looking forward to your thoughts and ideas. I hope you'll share them in the Q&A. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity to weather this crisis together, find out what we're made of as an organization, as a community. Thank you all for your trust and your enthusiasm and your grace as we navigate this unimaginable new normal together.
In September, the faculty and staff came together to reimagine the College of Teachers. And after a self-nominating process, the new College of Teachers was formed with 7 faculty and staff members, spanning all branches of our school. Our work together has included many things. Our discussions have spanned many topics, and our recommendations have varied, and all come from a commitment to the Lake Champlain Waldorf School. We connect to the spiritual being of the school through imagination, contemplation, and observations. We connect to one another through creating a space of respect in the way we interact with each other and how we listen to one another. We connect to the full faculty and staff through discussion, study, and discernment together. We connect to the pedagogy of our school through study, conversation, and acknowledging the work of the past and actively moving our school toward the future. The college and the head of school are committed to working collaboratively together as part of a thriving and healthy governance structure for our school. Our accomplishments have included first and foremost becoming a group, something that may not be as noticeable on our list of tasks completed, but one that is of the utmost importance. We have discussed tuition structures, long-term substitution plans, fine-tuned parallel and remote learning expectations, and have planned meaningful in-service and full faculty and staff meetings. Most recently, we have undergone a whole-scale high school re-visioning process that meets today's students. Our work currently includes envisioning our middle school program, our world languages program, OSNA accreditation, and the festival life of LCWS. As we look toward the future, we will also be turning our attention to what the college will look like in its continued form and ask, what have been our successes? What have been the challenges? And what do we propose as the College of Teachers continues on and finds its more permanent place in the governance of our school?
The benchmarks are something that we set up as a board a year and a half ago to really establish specific markers of health, like what is a healthy school, and to be able to use those markers to assess and self-assess the school as we move forward. There are 7 different categories, and we presented them at last year's State of the School meeting, and we've revised those this year in light of the pandemic and the size of our school and all of that. So the entire list of the benchmarks are on page 9 of the State of the School report, and you can review them there. I'm not going to go through all of that text, but it's all really interesting and important. There are 3 columns. The column on the left is our progress. The column in the middle is opportunities for growth. And the column on the right side is when we have achieved success in this category, we will be able to affirm ... Highlights that I want to point out are in the governance benchmark. We've done an amazing job. The faculty's done an amazing job in taking the college, which didn't exist 2 years ago, the College of Teachers, and creating an interim collegium last year, and going through a process with the whole faculty to identify representatives and a structure for what is now a functioning College of Teachers that is actively participating in the governance of the school, making pedagogical decisions along with the head of school, and looking ahead, it's going to make our school much stronger and more responsive to the internal needs of faculty and the sort of philosophical external needs of anthroposophy and Waldorf education. Another highlight, I think, is the financial management benchmark. We're operating in the black. We have a right-sized budget. We have realistic fundraising goals baked into that budget. The administration has been really aggressive about getting COVID-related grants that have made a huge difference in bridging last year's attrition into this year, and also to help us plan for next year when we know there's going to be a budget gap based on some of the ways that classes are moving out of the school, and we're prepared for those. We also just had the ventilation upgrade done at the school, which was a health and safety thing, but it also is a huge financial burden lifted off of us, because it was deferred maintenance that we had kept deferring, and we ended up getting a huge amount of financial assistance from the state in order to make it happen right now. And that was thanks to the administration having the capacity to go after those grants. One area that I might point out that's an opportunity for growth is parent enrollment or parent involvement. It's been difficult this year with the pandemic and getting people in for meetings. We had some pretty robust work days while the weather was good, but we know it hasn't been the kind of parent community that a lot of us signed up for. That being said, the remote meetings have given opportunities for some parents to participate when they haven't been able to before. So we'll, moving forward, have to figure out how to take the best of both those worlds. But really, there are opportunities for growth in the parent involvement and parent community benchmark. So overall, the 7 categories you can review are parent community, enrollment, outreach, marketing and retention, diversity, financial health, development and fundraising, professional standards, and governance. And I know all those areas are going to be touched on in the rest of the State of the School presentation. And I'm just here to talk about page 9. Thanks for your time and attention. Bye-bye.
In my conversations last year with current and former families, academic excellence came up again and again as reasons that former families had chosen to leave and as reasons that current families could imagine leaving. There's a story that we've told ourselves at times that academic excellence is somehow un-Waldorf, and we've been reluctant to highlight the parts of our program that truly are and always have been academically excellent. On the horizon for our teachers, we have school-sponsored opportunities to earn their state teaching licenses and to engage with the Vermont guidelines for teachers and leaders. More faculty members with Vermont state teaching licenses allows us to ensure that we're current on best practices in every subject area, that we're engaged with our community of peers across the state, and that we're seen as a peer by the Agency of Education. Faculty participation in the Vermont guidelines for leaders and teachers means that we'll have more clarity and rigor for our professional assessment and our teacher support processes, and all of that supports student learning. And in that realm, you can expect to see more documentation of learning goals and clearer formative and summative assessments in order for us all to understand student progress toward those goals. Last spring, when our faculty dove into assessing these learning goals, when they conducted that gap analysis to determine which had been met by or before beyond the classroom and which learning goals our students had not yet achieved, it was a new way of looking at their work and what they bring to the students. We will sustain the type of careful subjective observation evaluation that our teachers have always applied. And in addition, we will have clearer objective indicators as well. For example, our school is conducting a whole school math assessment grade by grade. It's very gentle. It looks a lot like playing games with Mr. Kimberly, but it will allow us to develop a comprehensive school-wide math curriculum in order to support student learning and in order to give the teachers clearer guidance as well. And of course, we are proud of recent changes. In creating this first grade specialist position, we already see that we're able to transition our youngest students very smoothly. This dedicated position to focus deeply on this important transition year on the class and help each child find their place in it and ensure that our students leave first grade with a solid social and academic foundation, it's going to become more and more powerful every year as the partnership between the first grade specialist and the early childhood continues. At the other end of the spectrum, our juniors and seniors will soon be benefiting from a partnership with the Community College of Vermont. That's a different sort of social and academic foundation, and we're really excited about what's going to be possible for our students in every grade when we are applying this lens of academic excellence to our planning, to our curriculum creation, and to our student and faculty assessment.
I'm here to share with you a little bit about what's up ahead in governance. When we talk about governance, we're talking about who makes decisions, whose voice is included in those decisions, and how do we hold each other accountable. In the near future, I think you can expect to see that the Board of Trustees is going to be taking on a more strategic role, looking more specifically at long-term planning and long-term sustainability of our school. You can also expect that the College of Teachers' capacity for decision-making will increase and that their voice will be heard more clearly and that they weigh in on issues more regularly. I think in the future, you can also expect that we find a meaningful role for the Parent Community Council in our decision-making structures. I look forward to working with you on these things.
Our faculty have already begun to look at our programs one by one, like our world language program. Our goal is for all of our programs to be more fully held throughout the faculty. The faculty and administration are taking up the big questions as a full faculty and in the College of Teachers, as we reevaluate our programs and as we evolve. We're asking questions like, why is this element fundamental to a Waldorf education? What pieces of our programs need to be honored and retired? And what is calling to us from the future as we reinvent Waldorf education for a new century? This is the work that we do through study and intentional conversation. It is through this work that we will continue to meet the students of today and prepare them for the wider world they will meet tomorrow.
What excites me is the opportunity to work closely, deeply, and even spiritually with my colleagues. As we take on questions and strive to discern what is best for the school. And what really excites me here and enlivens me is we always strive to find out what's best for the student. So the student is at the center. This is humbling work, and we take on some hard questions, but it is one that I find fruitful, and I'm honored to be on part of this team. And I look forward to a deeper college as it continues to grow with a real foundation for future generations.
I'm really proud that we have adopted sociocracy as a decision-making tool. I feel like my voice is heard, and I love hearing the voices of my colleagues. And I look forward to bringing this into the wider faculty.
I have really enjoyed working on the college and bringing to fruition some of our future ideas for the Lake Champlain Waldorf School. I think that's a really important part of the work of a college, and I'm so happy to share in that work with all of you. And I look forward to, growing the college and having more colleagues participate, because I think more voices are always valued.
I feel really honored to be on this group. I love the work that we do together and the feeling that we create in our meetings. I love the span of topics that we discuss. And I'm really looking forward to having this group, the college group, continue in years to come, that it really finds its solid spot in our school.
I'm really proud of the work that the college has done to work in a really enlivened and deep and spiritual way together, and the ways that we can bring the students and the faculty and even the buildings into our space in a really imaginative way. And I'm looking forward to the college taking up more and more pedagogical leadership in the school.
So I think that this has turned into a pretty good functioning group that I'm really happy with. Sociocracy, that I think this year more than ever in my career, felt that I can take more risks and actually give my strong opinions. And I feel like I'm happy that I've been able to give voice to the full faculty and to remind us that that we are that they are always with us, and that I'm really proud of the work that we did together on the new high school model. That I think that it's a beautiful idea, and I think that it will be a great high school. And then I'm also really looking forward to meeting in person, because this is not my thing.
So it looks like we can start our question and answer. So those of you who are in the audience, you'll find that there's a question and answer box. You can type a question in. We can see the question. What I'm going to do is, as questions come in, I'll read them, and we'll find someone on this on the panel who is the appropriate person to answer it. So we can start with a first question I see coming in from an anonymous attendee. Just wondering what the Faculty Care Fund is. I see it in the annual report and I haven't a clue what it is for. Seems like something I might like to contribute to. So that's a great question. The Faculty Care Fund. I think the Faculty Care Fund, the first time I heard that phrase and heard that idea was out of the mouth of Miss Jazz Darlin. So maybe Jazz, can you start us off with some thoughts about how we describe the Faculty Care Fund?
Yeah, happy to. The intention there is to have a safety net in place for the times when something goes terribly wrong and a tree falls on your porch or your car breaks down or whatever else could pop up, big or small, so that our faculty feel safer and know that they'll be supported through different crises that come up. We've used the Faculty Care Fund this year to support employees who are dealing with particular circumstances. It's been primarily health related, and the personnel advisory group is really holding that picture, and they had a process of checking in with all the teachers so that they could get a sense of what are the needs that someone might be not inclined to bring forward, but that we would want to support. And then they've also been receptive to people approaching them and saying, there's something that I need to talk about.
And the personnel advisory group, I believe the chair is Tyler. Tyler, are you here? Tyler McDonald. And maybe Tyler, can you talk to us a little bit about the personnel advisory group? I think that's an important piece of sort of the picture of how we're taking care of faculty in a different way. The Faculty Care Fund is one of those ways, but the personnel group is another.
Sure. So Tyler McDonald here, and it's a shared responsibility. There's three of us, Pamela Sun, Sherry Carlson, and myself. And it's part of the role this year has been holding the Faculty Care Fund, which is new, and I think a wonderful thing, but we've been working to make sure that that it's run smoothly, and with transparency as much as possible, although also, of course, discreet. And we also help with other needs that faculty may feel. So they can come to us if there is a question around a struggle that they have at the school or concern. And we've also met with each faculty member and gone over professional goals. So part of those questions are, where are you striving, where you may need help, what excites you, setting goals for the year. And it's really been an amazing experience for me, humbling and a real honor, similar to the college. It's another amazing role to hold, and just hearing all the faculty and how much thought they put into the programs and into the students that they teach. It really was amazing to hear all that. So that is much of what the PAG is doing this year, along with just, it's a brand new budding group. So just forming our best practices for the years to come.
Thank you, Jazz. Thank you, Tyler. Let's see. We have a second question. Laura Stoltz. I found your presentation very inspiring and informative. Just want to say thank you, leaders, for all of your deeply intentional and tireless work in these unprecedented and challenging times. We and our children are very fortunate to be held by you in this community. Thank you, Laura. Laura, I know, has been deeply involved in Waldorf schools and in Waldorf school leadership. So I think she knows better than even some of us what it really takes to run a Waldorf school. So yes, that means a lot coming from you, Laura. Thank you. Let's see, we have time for more questions. So I don't see any popping up on the screen, but we're really happy to answer questions. Here's another one. I've not found, from Jen, I have not found the parent community or engagement lacking this year, but would love to know if there are things I can do within COVID protocol to help boost engagement. I wonder if Katie and Rachel, if you guys could talk a little bit about, and maybe Emily, can you chime in on telling us if it's safe or not, our ideas? Yeah, talk a little bit about how might we boost engagement and still follow COVID protocol. Rachel, can you start us off?
Sure. So my name's Rachel. I'm part of the Community Relations Committee at the school, which is a committee within the Board of Trustees. And yeah, we've been kind of going over and over possible ideas. There were some fits and starts in the fall leading up to Christmas, trying to get a couple of our festivals renewed that we all love and missed this past fall, but we were trying to reenact them in just small ways that ultimately were not possible because of COVID and the additional restrictions put on everybody as of Thanksgiving, around Thanksgiving time. However, going into this late winter, sort of early springtime, we are trying to re-energize some of those efforts, and we have some ideas on the table, which we are hashing out also with COVID. Of course, always with the eye to safety. So gathering at the school, maybe not so much. One-on-one parent contacts and outreach, that is definitely something that we need help with, and invite folks who are interested in doing that kind of thing. We would love that going forward. We did gather lists of volunteer interest in the fall, so we're sort of referencing those shows of interest in moving forward on projects such as the parent outreach. Again, sort of checking in with each other on a one-to-one level, or maybe in some other fashion, but we definitely welcome anyone who is interested in joining in. And you could email our group is just crc@LakeChamplainWaldorfSchool.com for any interest in making those things happen. And I think as we get closer, also, I mean, we can't de-emphasize the impact of just sheer winter on gathering outside. So as we move into spring, those possibilities will open up a little bit more. I don't know if Katie or other folks have.
Yeah, Katie, have you heard of some or thought of some ways that we're going to be looking towards different kinds of parent engagement that's safe?
Yeah, so in the fall, we were successful in being able to gather just a couple of times for that Friday coffee in the little parking lot at the end of Turtle Lane. And the city of Shelburne was happy to let us do that. We just put up a tent with a table with some things, and then it was bring your own coffee. We weren't allowed to serve it. But it was a place where we could kind of mingle and have those conversations that used to unfold in the parking lot that I think we really are feeling the lack of those kinds of things in our community. And so I think we could certainly work to put some more of those Fridays in place. And again, if you want to reach out to the CRC and let us know other times, if it's not a Friday morning, because that has never worked for you and you want to participate, we could certainly do perhaps other mornings or other opportunities. The other things that I think of, Rachel and I spent one afternoon painting little boards this fall to leave messages, as you're driving in, or my husband helped to build an announcement board that we've kind of not really fully taken up, but it's a great place, I feel like, for people to be able to gather ideas around or take ownership of in certain ways, to decorate or to, add a little school spirit. I think that those kinds of things can bring a lot of joy in a time when there's so little going on. So I'm also the board representative to the PCC, and I think maybe Kiki is going to have a message tonight or not. But Jen, you asked the question, and I've been seeing you at the PCC meetings. But those are still attended by a small handful of people, and it's a wonderful handful of people. It's an intimate and lovely time, and I really encourage people to give that a go sometime, because we are experiencing nourishing connection there once a month. And it's on a pretty small scale because of participation. And it's different being online, but it's nourishing and it's lovely. So please feel free to reach out to us and share your ideas. And also, one of the things that I have found is that often if I have a great idea, the best way to see that come to life is to then lead that great idea with some of my own inertia. So I just welcome some creativity and participation, some of that ownership, because we all are, responsible ultimately, I guess, there. So.
Thank you so much, Rachel and Katie. Looks like we didn't need any serious safety guidance, Emily, but I'm sure we will soon. Let's see, there are some other questions. Can you share feedback on enrollment for students and families that may have joined the school because of what we could offer through this period of COVID, but these families may not have joined if times were not COVID? Are we seeing some or a lot of those families re-enrolling for next year? Well, I feel like, Amy, I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. I certainly don't know the answer to that question.
I can definitely speak to that. Yes, we have seen a lot. We did see a lot of enrollment this year based on our ability to be in person 5 days a week and to be outdoors and to be doing the things that we've been doing this year that made many parents feel more confident about sending their kids to school. And we also saw an increase in enrollment because of families moving to this area for that reason as well. Families who were able to work remotely and decided that they wanted to take the opportunity to move to a place that they've wanted to live. And a great number of those families have already re-enrolled. I'd say the vast majority have decided to stay on beyond this year already. So we're very grateful for that and excited to welcome those new folks to our community. We're also seeing continued enrollments, new enrollments for the upcoming year that are still based on these same conditions. Families who have moved to Vermont this year, partway through the year, and have been either homeschooling or doing remote schooling with their former schools and are looking to settle in Vermont permanently and are looking to come to our school. So we have new enrollments and continuing inquiries from families that fall into that category.
Thank you, Amy. We have another question. Where will the middle schoolers and high schoolers be next year physically? Is there any possibility that they will be at the Bostwick campus as they were in December? I would love to have both Lindsay and Jazz. I know that the College of Teachers is working on topics of where will our students be physically next year and how will the class configurations work. And I know, Jazz, you're working with them on that. So maybe both of you could share a little bit.
There's not a tremendous amount to share. The question of, is there any possibility of them being at Bostwick? Yes, there is a very, very real possibility. And the college is thinking about it very intentionally and trying to make sure that we know exactly what that would mean for all of the students and that is exactly what we want for them. So there are more conversations needed, and Lindsay can talk more about the college's process.
Yeah, I think we kind of began considering what the Bostwick Road campus could be utilized as when we were beginning our high school visioning work that we've been doing, and we've been carrying that through as we've discussed
all aspects of our school, from what does it mean to have one full faculty that is from, pre-K all the way up through high school, versus kind of sectioning us off as in different branches and different ways that we could utilize all of our gifts and our strengths throughout the whole entire school. Also, of course, the children are always in the center, just like Tyler has talked about so beautifully in our work. And so what's best for all of the students that would be at Turtle Lane campus and the Bostwick Road campus. So it's not a quick answer. It feels, I think, that it should be quick, but it actually, there's a lot of different pieces that go along with all of those decisions that we have to make. So we're still in that process of figuring out what's best for everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Lindsay and Jazz. It's 7:55, so I want to be mindful of the time. Does this go till 8:30? Okay, so we have time for a few more questions. Thank you so much for this update. Can you please share more about the CCV high school partnership? And Jazz, I think you know the most about that. I'm so excited to hear this too.
Yeah, we're in the early stages, but I've had a great conversation 2 weeks ago with Joyce Judy, the president of CCV, and we have the beginnings of we have a verbal agreement that we're looking forward to ironing out. And our hope is that our juniors and seniors will be able to skip the separate admissions process, skip the assessment piece, and be able to enroll in classes at CCV. We're thinking this is going to be really helpful for some upper level math classes and for students who have particular interests. We can imagine so many things ahead for our high school students. And one of the pictures that the college had shared was around a senior year that's really built around internship and some college classes and some sort of like life coaching, and it's sort of their training wheels year off in the big world. And so we're excited about being able to partner with CCV and have our high school students be able to be in classes with people who are 16 years old to 60 years old, and where they're able to choose by interest and be challenged in a new environment and new ways, and for us to be able to then support them in processing that together and in moving incrementally closer to their picture of who they see themselves being in the world and what they want to do with that.
So nice, thank you. It looks like we don't have any questions in the lineup. Maybe we can have the audience think a little bit. If you have other questions, we can give you some time to think and to write questions in. We did have the thinking that maybe we could share some things that we are really excited about. One thing that we're pretty excited about that's coming up for our school. Maybe we could start with some board members. Justine, did you have something that you wanted to share that you're really excited about?
Sure. Thanks, Christina. I feel really excited about the diversity, equity, and inclusion work and how that will manifest directly into the classrooms, in particular, specifically the early childhood branches. I've been doing some trainings myself as a teacher, and I'm just really looking forward to seeing what that looks like for our school.
Oh, thank you. I love that. I think your thoughts may have sparked a question. Do you have any words of wisdom for those who are extremely excited about many of the recent advancements, such as the formation and work of the DEI group, the College of Teachers, and social justice progress, but are a little nervous about language such as reinvent Waldorf or meeting the students of today? How do we balance meeting new needs while maintaining strong roots? And when and how will the parent community be involved in these changes? That's a great question. I wonder if Lindsay and Tyler, could you, I know that you guys have been thinking a little bit about how this is gonna work, and maybe we could just start off with your thoughts on that question.
Sure.
Tyler, I can start, and then I'd love to hear your thoughts too. And I think there's also other college members that are on here, so everybody can chime in from the college. I think in our conversations as a college group, it's definitely a balance of maintaining the essence of our Waldorf pedagogy and looking to the future. We've seen how the Waldorf way of educating children is evolving and changing, and leaving some things behind and picking up new things. And so as a group, we often talk about that and think about that together. And some of the practical ways that we do that are through just looking at our own school and kind of what our history has been in, and what are the things that we do, and are there things that we always do that we need to let go, and if we want to let them go, why, and are there things that we always do and we want to keep them, and then also if so, why. So we definitely have to find a balance in between the two. Tyler, would you add to that?
I'd probably just reiterate the, I love the question. I think it's what we're striving for, is to continue to have the roots in Waldorf education and our impulse coming from that, and our study and just our striving as teachers, and seeing that in the child, and also looking into the world, which the students have in the verse, but really seeing what's happening now, and making sure that we are preparing the students in the best way they can to navigate that world and feel comfortable within it. So I think that is where we are with being brave and looking inward and outward to find what is best. Again, with the child and the student in the center. But the foundation is still in the Waldorf education. And I believe some of the things, hopefully, that are coming through now with the importance on relationship, and really, again, seeing the child, but what are they asking for? And in the moment, as best we can to deliver that, whether it be in our lesson plan in that moment, but just having the imagination and the freedom, and it being present to see the child and to see him then, and to do our best to meet that. And those type of approach and relationships will still be the foundation. The curriculum may change here and there, but the approach will stay the same. The meditation on the child, and I believe a lot of the foundational pieces that either you feel, hopefully, or you've read about, will be there. So but it's a great question, and it is what we're working on.
Sorry, talking with no one hearing me. I'm unmuted now. Emily Fuchs and Rebecca, would you like, I'm going to reread the question, and maybe we'd love to hear more teachers talk about this. This is a fascinating topic, I think, to parents. And so I'm going to reread this. Do you have any words of wisdom for those who are extremely excited about many of the recent advancements, such as the formation and work of the DEI group, the College of Teachers, and social justice programs, but are a little nervous about language such as reinvent Waldorf or meeting the students of today? How do we balance meeting new needs while maintaining strong roots? And when and how will the parent community be involved in these changes?
Can I just jump in here? Is that okay? You can all see me? Okay. So I'm Rebecca Hopkinson. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a middle school teacher and also on the DEI group, this newly formed group in our school. And I wanted to just plug that we have been having community conversations with whoever can make it in our community every second Thursday of the month from 6 to 7. And this is really the place where we're coming together to have these conversations. And the other thing that I would say is that as Waldorf teachers, we are always reinventing, and we are always looking at the children of today. And so I don't know if it's words of wisdom, but I would say that, we're doing our job if we are looking at the children of today and asking, okay, what do these students need now? And we're really not doing our job if we're not asking that. So I think that the question of how do we stay true to the core beliefs of Waldorf and how do we meet the children of today are one and the same. And the nuances of that are all the questions that we get to have in the meantime. And I would just invite everyone to come and join those conversations where there's a little bit of education and a little bit of discussion, and we can talk about all these great subjects together. So second Thursday of every month, 6 to 7. The link is usually on the calendar, and if not, we send it to you frantically because we realize that it's not there.
And that's for faculty and
faculty, yep, and students too. We've had some student presenters.
Oh.
I would second what Rebecca has said about the way in which teachers are constantly reinventing it. And I would also add in addressing when does the parent community get to be involved in these changes? I think that one thing I'm really looking forward to in the really really reimagined high school is an opportunity for some meaningful parent study together. I think that it's easy as a parent to hear from the teacher, well, this is what I've learned and this is what Steiner says. And I think it's even more exciting when parents can be side by side with teachers also studying the same really meaningful pedagogy and insights that we use to build our curriculum. So I really hope that that can be part of the process of building this new high school vision.
Does anyone else have anything burning to say on that topic?
I do. First, I love that second part of it, of how do parents become part of this conversation. That's such a great one. And like Rebecca and Emily said, come to the conversations, yes. And I'm looking forward to us creating a little bit more formality there and a way for the parent community. And in that way, I think of the Parent Community Council, but there are lots of different ways that it could come about to really be meaningfully referenced and to come along with us in our study. One example that I think of around what it means to meet the children of today and how that factors into our thinking and our planning and our study is Steiner's indications for teaching reading, that he gave these really clear ideas for introducing the letter sounds pictorially through story, which is most alive for the students, and bringing in the block letters first and then the lowercase letters separately, because otherwise it's just too much of a jumble. And when we go back to his indications, one of the explanations that he gives, one of the reasons that he says that this is what's best for students, is that he says students have never encountered anything like letters. They're completely foreign. He said they might feel even demonic to the young child. It's these strange shapes that have no context, no rooting or grounding in the child's world. And that was true for him and for the children in inner city Stuttgart in the early 1900s. But for our students who have been able to distinguish print media almost since they could speak, and who are used to seeing words while they're snuggled up on their grandma's lap reading a story, that part is no longer true. And so then we begin to question it and we look at, well, what is true for the students of today and what is the research around? And brain research into teaching early literacy has borne out Steiner's ideas of waiting until around the age of 7 and of bringing in literacy through imagination, through stories, through these pictorial connections. And it has not borne out the idea of the block letters first and then the consonants. And so we're shifting and adapting. And I think in those sort of situations, it's more of updating the parent and letting them know, here are changes that we've made, here's how we're doing things, and here's why, rather than a conversation, because it feels clear. Here's a need that was present, no longer present. Here's the need that we're looking at today, and here's how we'll meet it.
Thank you. Thank you, Jazz. We have another, hold on just a second. Danielle, were you going to share some additional thoughts on that?
No, I've just been managing the question box. That's what I
Okay.
was reaching for, but thank you.
Okay. I saw your name flash. Okay. Oh, we do have another question. Hello. Thank you for all the work in preparing this great presentation. Can someone speak to the direction the school is moving with technology in class and outside of class? Is there a direction the school is moving with technology? Maybe we could just popcorn, like people from the college, and Jazz, teachers.
I can jump in here. I love this question because here we are, you know, at an all-school meeting virtually, and we have all sort of transitioned to a new relationship with our digital devices, and that includes the students. So the students last spring, with their distance learning, had to form a new relationship with this technology in many cases. And this conversation around when and how we use technology in Waldorf schools, our faculty has started this conversation before the pandemic. And I think that, you know, now we have some lived experience that we can add to our perspective. It's an ongoing conversation, and I think that with the introduction of cyber civics, we are grounding the students in some real values around how to be ethical and wise, and be part of a participatory culture as digital citizens with technology. And I think the next step for us as a faculty is to really be clear, you know, now in this new world of where, you know, kids are used to accessing their assignments on Google Classroom, for instance. Where do we put our boundaries, and where do we say this is a tool for good and for creativity, and where do we say you know, this is a sanctuary where technology or media is not doesn't have a place. So there are ongoing questions. And the other thing I just wanted to say is that I think that in the younger grades, it's very, the messaging around technology is oftentimes, you know, hold off on movies and limit this and limit that. And I think that the school has some work to do around, you know, when does that transition? Because it's not all of a sudden you are writing papers online in high school. There is a gradual working towards that in middle school. And I think that, you know, we as a faculty have some work to do to communicate that to parents, that there is really an on-ramp for technology use in Waldorf schools.
Does anyone else want to speak to the direction the school is moving with technology in class and outside of class? There are a couple of other questions coming in, so I'm going to move to those. What is the timeline for the college's work ahead around the middle school years? Jazz and Lindsay, I would love to hear you speak to that. Where's Lindsay?
Yeah, I can speak to that. We are currently in the middle school conversation as we were really deepening our study around the high school vision work that we were doing. It became very clear that we needed to also hone our attention into the middle school and how important that aspect of our school is as well. And so we're kind of deep in the throes of that discussion, and it's been in many different forms through what does a sixth grader need, what does an eighth grader need, how does 7 and 8 have their own group, how does 6 go into 7 and 8, how does 8 join in with 9th. So it's a deep and rich conversation, and then of course in that is also the location and where the college feels that all the children in that group would be best served. So we don't want to take forever on these discussions, but then also sometimes we need to sink into the conversation a little longer. So I wouldn't imagine that we're going to take the rest of the year to do that, of course, but I think that we're still a little bit in the middle of that discussion. And other college members, and Jazz, please speak as well on that.
Yeah, I think that it is both true that the college will have completed a round of study on the middle school students before the end of the school year in order for us to make some meaningful decisions around their place for next year. And it's also true that this study will never be completed, and we'll be returning to it again and again. And in the story of our school, the middle school is one of the most carefully considered parts of our program. We had done a fairly deep study in just a few years ago, 5 or 6 years. Someone who is here then can speak to that better than I can. And so we're also trying to check in with that study and make sure that we're working in the context of it, and that where there are things that need to be questioned or revised or so on, we're feeling free to do so, and yet that we're also being really respectful of that work that's already taken place and using that as our jumping off point.
It looks like 2 other questions or comments have come in. As an LCWS alum, I am grateful to have the opportunity to hear these updates. I continue to be proud to say I am a Waldorf graduate, and I truly feel that I use skills gained through my education on a daily basis, almost 10 years after graduating. I look forward to hearing more about how LCWS will continue to incorporate DEI education into the curriculum, and I'm grateful to all those who are taking this important work on. Thank you. Thank you for the comment. So here's another, but this is I think a question, not a comment. Let me look. How might we bring a clearer picture of what Waldorf is with education for parents joining to find ways to share a culture in terms of screen time, technology, and age-appropriate materials of all sorts, so we know what we might expect in our student interactions? A big wonder is about the parent community joining just for in-person learning versus joining because they are truly engaged and excited about a particularly Waldorf education. Oh, I hear that. I hear what's in that question. I got it. Jazz, I would love to hear you speak to that. And perhaps Amy, you've talked to families some of whom might be interested in in-person learning, but they might not know very much about Waldorf, or maybe they all know about Waldorf. We could just hear what you're encountering.
Amy, do you want to speak to that first? I feel like I've been doing a lot of talking.
Sure. There has been a sizable amount of interest in what we're offering just because we've been in person and outside. And like I said before, operating school safely in a way that parents were comfortable. And I think that it's been a really, it's been a boon for us because it's offered a window in to what else we are doing here that we've always been doing. And so those families that I mentioned before who have signed on again for another year, it's for that reason. And so I feel like this has been one of those silver linings that we talk about, that it's given us the opportunity to bring what we're doing here with our education out into different circles where it might not have been visible before. And we're hopeful that we can continue to do that.
I think there could be like a whole PCC conversation about this topic. I think that it's important for us to be able to have candid conversations with newcomers, that we are a community of parents choosing this for our students. And you know, there are a few thises you can fill in the blanks there, a few conversations that are important. I think that we also, you know, what I'd almost said to Anna's question earlier about technology and the direction is that for me, when I came into this school originally, I felt like I wanted to see more technology in the classroom and less technology at home. I felt like there were opportunities that we were missing to amplify learning experiences in meaningful ways because we were not willing to engage with technology for an academic goal. And at the same time, I worked so hard to prevent my child from ever hearing the Frozen songs, and that happened within like 2 weeks of starting kindergarten here. And you know, my 7th grader is in class with peers who have phones and Instagram accounts, and so I think that we really do need a comprehensive community conversation. I don't think it's necessarily about the new families coming in. I think that it's a reckoning that we all need to have together. And of course, the way in which our children's relationship with media and experience of technology has been transformed in the past 10 months makes that conversation more relevant and more timely. And I hope we can make it a priority.
Thank you. Thank you for that question. Well, it's 8:21. It looks like we don't have any more questions. Want to give it a minute if someone is typing for a question to come in. It was mentioned that there are waiting lists for next year. Are these spread across all grades? A parent who maybe wants to know the details.
We are still getting contracts in that were sent out, and it's really too early to say. It's just sort of what it's looking like with the number of applications that we've gotten and the number of contracts that we have out. If you have a contract out for signature, you are still welcome to sign it, and please do so.
I want to say thank you so much to everyone who joined us in the audience. Thank you, every one of you from the college, from the Board of Trustees, who joined us to answer questions. Blessings on our school. Good night.